ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Mwakenya by Wakenya, the platform where we share hope and inspiration through real-life stories by real people. Our guest today is a lady who had no choice but to be strong. She experienced a great loss, which for many would have left paralyzed, but she took it as a challenge and made something of herself despite all odds. A quick disclaimer, we will be switching locations, but you'll soon find out why. Welcome, and thank you so much for taking your time off your busy schedule to sit here with us and share your story. We appreciate you very much. So perhaps you can begin by an introduction.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It has been a dream. My name is Florence Adhiambo, and I'm glad to share my story because I believe it will be an encouragement to someone else outside there. It has been a journey that I believe will give someone strength to walk out of their miseries and actually make a life out of themselves. Yeah.
Great. So perhaps we can begin with your story. Where did it all begin? Where did this lady, Florence, begin?
Actually, just like any other child, I was born in a middle-class family. And for 4 years, I was the only child. Later on, actually, my parents got another child. But in between the moment that I was the only child, I think I enjoyed much.
Yes.
But when others came, they came, more came, and actually we are 7 now. And I grew up in both urban and rural area. Sometimes I would be taken to my mother back at home, and most of the times I would stay with my father. I was a daddy's girl. So when I got to 18 years, I was in college, 19, I was in college. So when I ended my college, you know, sometimes you try these tricky things. You want to hide on your parents and try. So I tried love. It didn't last long. I actually got a child that passed on at the age of 1.5 years.
I'm sorry about
Mysteriously, when I had traveled to my parents' home, this child passed on. It's something that I could not explain. The child was unwell for 3 days, and then later on she passed on. It was a painful moment for me because now my relationship was going apart. The father didn't want to listen to anything, and there were a lot of accusations. So at this point, the relationship ended actually. I went back to my parents' home. I was with them for close to 4 years. This same guy reappeared again.
Oh, okay.
Yes. As a naive girl, yes, I did it again. Fortunately, this other child is alive. She doesn't know her story.
Oh, so you had another child?
Yes, another child. But now I decided I just went to my dad straight and told him another mistake, but I'm not going to live with this guy. And he actually accepted to take care of me. As a loving father, he took care of me with my child. Until the child was 1 year old, is when my now late husband proposed to me officially, paid my dowry. I was not taken in as a wife, and with the other child who was 1 year old. So a year later, I took in and actually gave him one girl. That is in 2008. I lived with him for 3 years comfortably, and the marriage was sweet. Everything was okay. You'd receive the roses, the chocolates.
That's nice.
I was happy. And then on the 4th year, things were not adding up. There were a lot of questions that I really needed to ask. There are a lot of answers I was looking for because his health was deteriorating and I couldn't tell what was happening to him. So one day, we just decided to take a walk with friends and a few family members. So on this walk, I happened to meet some of the guys I was practicing with medicine because that is what I did in my college. I had done pharmaceutical medicine. So when I met this guy, I was doing a health reproductive program with the CDC. So when I met this guy, they were like, you've zungukat this Kenya, can you do an HIV test? And I was like, why not actually? Because to me, I am okay. So I actually went and took in the HIV test. This guy walked out. And it worried me because initially we would do this together. He would come in, we would drop in clinics comfortably. So when he walked out, I was a bit worried. So I started looking for answers. Why did he walk out on us today? Even the kids took the test, everyone took these. And a month later, this guy would make breakfast. I would be served breakfast in bed Saturdays. Because on Monday to Friday, I would work for them, do everything. As the mother of the house, you're planning for their morning
Yes.
with the kids in school.
Yes.
So every Saturday, this guy would do morning breakfast. So this Saturday, this specific Saturday, there was no breakfast.
Oh.
He woke me up and told me, can you prepare for us breakfast? And because I want to talk to you later. You know, when someone gives you such a brief, you're already in a panic mode
Yes.
because you don't know what's coming next. So when we went for this breakfast, after the kids had taken their cereals, now they walked out. And he told me, my doctor needs to see you. And I was like, you are a doctor? Do we have a specific doctor for the family? Because all I know is that we have a medical card where we walk in any hospital that we want to. Any hospital of our choice that is actually lined on the panel. So I didn't know why he was specifying his doctor.
Yes.
Around 10 a.m., we dressed and then we walked out, only to be taken to Meridian, the Nation Center, Meridian Medical Center. So when I got there, I got a panel of 6 doctors. And the first question was, I think I told them my story. He told them, she's either cold or hot.
Oh, okay.
So this cold or hot, he was actually explaining to them, I can explode to the extreme, or I can decide to keep quiet with this information that they are going to give me. So when I got in, the youngest doctor of all actually approached me and told me, Mama, we have a serious story here that we need to talk about, but it's a bit sensitive. And I was like, what is this that can't be told at once?
Yes.
So I was a bit hesitant, and the youngest doctor was still on me like, are you ready to listen to us? I said, go ahead, I'm ready to listen to you. So I think at that time they were trying my temperament that they had been informed earlier that I can explode to the extreme or I can decide to go cold.
Yes.
But fortunately, I went cold actually. So when I went cold, now they started giving an explanation. This has been our patient for some times, and we thought now it's necessary for you to know his health status. And one broke the news and said, your husband is HIV positive, and we'd want you to take tests.
Okay.
My first question was, do you want me to do the slot one for the 10 minutes? Because I have all this information and what I can be able to do. So they told me, can you walk into a laboratory? I said, where's your laboratory? I think it was on the right end. So I walked in, did the first test, it was negative. They had to do the Camry one for the 2 weeks. So the 2 weeks is counting, and actually you're waiting, you don't even know.
I can imagine the anxiety.
Right back in the house, we are not even talking. Everyone is on her own. There is too much anxiety. You don't know how you're going to approach these. So when I walked out of the clinic, the first test was negative. My husband was not comfortable. I don't know why. I cannot explain the reasons as to why he was not comfortable. So waiting for the 2 weeks results, he's the one who went for it at the Meridian. So coming with it, it was still negative. So I think questions started lingering in my mind, like, how did this happen?
Yes.
At that time, I wasn't too much into religion. I wasn't too much into God. This is when now I realized probably God had just decided to spare my life out of this.
Yes.
I did several tests. I think I did 17.
Wow.
And now I got to Kenyatta and I was into the amenity group. I really wanted to know what is, now that is when I got the explanation of discordancy, where other couples live and one is negative, one is positive. So I remained negative, but I could not explain this. In the house, we were not comfortable. Things completely changed. We were never friends as we were. The sweet life actually came down.
So it took a serious toll on your marriage.
Yeah, it took a serious toll on us. I think he was sort of apologetic every day, but he could not explain as to where the mess happened. He could not. Yeah. Because at the first instance, I knew his status and he was okay. So I could not, personally, I could not even go to him and ask, how did this happen, or maybe what happened? So in my mind, I always kept fighting about this, like, why did it happen to me? Why did God spare me and he may remain the way he was? Actually, now life had to change completely. You know, a lot of things come in place. But at a certain point, he was giving up in life. So, you know, sometimes you pose in as a good African woman. Yes, I was still a wife.
Yes.
I would walk to the clinic, pick his medication, bring for him. So at certain point in life, I was stigmatized because it's me people would see in
Oh,
the
yes.
clinic picking his medication.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of rumors went around and people would say how I was HIV positive
Yes.
and all this, but I didn't care. I would still walk in, bring his medication because I wanted to see him maybe change his perception about life. I wanted him to live, but him, I think inside he was dying because he could not think like, how did this happen?
Yes.
He was not able to explain himself. He kept on apologizing every day. But I did not take the negative side. I still took the positive. Like I always say, I am a woman with 9 lives. You kill one, I believe I still have 7 more to go. The 2 are dead.
Yes.
But the 7 lives are still on.
Yes.
So I picked the pieces at that point, supported him as much as I could until 2012 when he had an accident.
Oh, okay.
He had a road accident when he was traveling to his home place. And by the time he had an accident, people were like, Musimwambie, don't tell her what is going on. Let her just be told when this guy had been transferred to Nairobi because he had an accident a kilometer to Maimahiu. So one of the friends called me and told me, you know, Paul has gotten an accident and we are in a spot somewhere in Maimahiu. I went and talked to a neighbor who was a very close friend. This guy actually drove me to Maimahiu. When I got there, we met the car he had gotten an accident with. It was written off. So the guy was like, are you sure someone walked out of this car alive? With the immediate compliment, like when this guy was talking, he called, like, sweetheart, don't worry, I am okay, I've not died. And I said, like, this guy, his mind was blown off.
Yes.
Immediately he was into a trauma. So when I got to Maimahiu, this guy, because they didn't know his status, they were hesitant. Nothing had been done to him. I just got my gloves, got his veins, nikaweka maji. Got the other one, nikaweka maji. So everyone didn't know I was the wife because they were thinking probably I was one of the nurses who had dropped in.
Yes.
But I made sure he was okay. So around 9, that happened around 9 p.m. Around 2 a.m., we were now on our way coming to Nairobi because we had to call various hospitals where I could be admitted. I think Nairobi West, we did not get a chance. There was only 1 bed. They had gotten an accident, 3 brothers. So we needed 3 beds for admission.
Yes.
We could not get 3 beds in Nairobi West. We could not get 3 beds in Nairobi Women. And finally, we got 3 beds in Aga Khan. So we went into Aga Khan. Immediately we got there. He actually went into a coma. I was aware that would happen because now he had bled, and now with this condition, with the viral load, I was anticipating that. So I was still strong, stood by his side and made sure the admission, all the x-rays were done. By 6 a.m., I was done with the x-rays and the admission was on. So I left him in the wards, picked all the clothes that were stained with blood, took them back home. At that time, my 2 girls were 5 and 3. No, they were 6 and 4. So when I got home, the girls were locked in the house that night. They didn't know what was happening.
Yes.
So I'm just waking them up and it's like, Mommy, what is happening? We slept all alone. We tried calling you and you're not around. I did not explain anything. So we got everything fixed. They're in hospital, the 3 of them. Him, he had serious head injuries. So you are always in and out of Aga Khan because the 3 were in Aga Khan. So 1 got discharged because he didn't have serious injuries. And the 2 remained in hospital, I think, for the other one. My late husband remained for a week and then he was discharged. Unfortunately, when we got home, he got depressed and now he had to be taken to a psychiatric ward for a month. So we had to take him again to Avenue where he could be locked in.
Wow. So this entire time you were living in hospital, basically?
Yeah, entire time I was in hospital, in and out in hospital. So when we got to psychiatric ward, there was a different experience because you got to know people who have blown off.
Yeah.
Some have blown off, are quiet,
Yeah.
and you get different experiences. So he stayed there for a month. He got better. He was actually discharged. We took him back home. Unfortunately, the day he went home, that is the day his boss declared him. He was actually relieved of his duties under redundancy.
What
So,
does that mean?
yeah.
What does that mean? Perhaps you can just
Actually,
explain
he was
it.
stopped from working. So he's being paid his dues
Uh-huh.
from his workplace. So he does not have a job.
Oh, okay.
So you are here with a sick person who's been declared redundant back at work.
Yes.
So he's lost his job in his sick bed. You are here with other 2 kids you're taking care of. And it was taking a toll on me, but I still kept strong because at that time I had known prayers, work. I had known God.
Yeah.
So I kept on praying through these. Everyone was like, what is she going to do? I thank God for my family who came in through for me. They stood in for me, my dad, my mom. So my mom would send food from home. Every Thursday would call, can't you go to the bus station, pick a luggage I've sent for you? When you go there, you'd find her, she's packed fish. Every other item that you'd use in the house,
Yes.
she would pack some things. One of my brothers who was working with the Intercont Hotel at that time also stood in. He would come, pay our rent. He was paying our bills and told me, just take care of this sick guy. When he gets better, things will work out. So at that time, you know, you are in and out of the hospital because he had injuries. He had all these ligaments. They were not broken, but they are actually dislocated. Every ligament of the left hand,
Oh my.
including the scalp. So the scalp is still swollen. The ligaments are loose. So there is nothing much he can do.
Yeah.
So it's either you go for therapies every day. So we would go for therapies in Acacia. That one needs also money, and now the card is depleted.
Yeah.
So I would still go on. My brother was still standing in for me. So my brother would pay the bills. We go for the therapies at Acacia. And my mother would still send food. So we were not going hungry.
Yeah.
For these, they were taking good care of us. My dad was still having some cash. So he would still chip in. Sometimes he would call and find out, what are you people having today? What is the progress? How is he doing?
Yes.
So my entire family was there for us. But now his family had stepped aside because this was the only breadwinner they had. So to them, I think they were in pain, and their pain turned them into maybe hostility.
Yeah.
To them, they didn't see the need of supporting him and even being close to him. They stood on their way.
His own family abandoned
His own
him.
family abandoned him at that time. We continued until, I think it was about 8 months after the accident. He actually went back to work. They recalled him back to the same place where he was working. So when they recalled him back, I also saw the sense of now starting to look for something.
Yes.
So I actually went for an interview with the IBC. IBC at that time was recruiting clerks. I didn't care of my position, I didn't care of my credentials, but I needed something for myself. So I went for an interview. When I did this online interview, I was given a slot somewhere at the border of Busia and Siaya. That is where they gave me a slot. So going for an interview, the person who was interviewing me was my ex. I was shocked when I remitted my papers.
Small world. Wow.
When I remitted my papers, the person holds his head high and is like, "It's you again."
Wow. Oh my.
It's me again.
Yes.
So I was actually given a chance for the interview. The guy interviewed me. I was given a job. So I'm going to work there for 30 days. I had to rent a house. Unfortunately, I'm working in the same village where I was introduced as a girlfriend, and I was never married.
Yes.
So these people know me by another. They know me by my common name, who is Merab. Now, if they come and ask me my name, I tell them my name is not Merab, my name is Florence.
Yes.
So I give them my ID. So these people are confused. It's like, we know this lady and she's refusing. But I'm avoiding a lot of stories. I do not want troubles.
Yeah.
Because this guy is married, he has his own life.
Yes.
I have my own life.
Yes.
So if they keep asking, like, are you Merab? No, I am not Merab. I am Florence.
Yes.
But Merab and Florence are the same person. I am only avoiding troubles. So I worked there for 30 days, came back with my money. I would only travel back on Saturdays. come and see him. During the time I was traveling for this job, I had to talk to one of my sisters who is my younger follower. I told her, I am handing over my husband to you. Take care of him as I am going to run other errands. But make sure you don't mess up.
Yeah.
I told him the part of the story. So my sister came, stood in for me. We actually saw each other at the bus station. When I'm taking the bus to Busia, my sister had arrived from home. So she's taking over my family. At the bus station, I'm giving instructions on what should be done because we don't have time.
Yeah.
So I'm taking off to Busia. My sister is coming in and starting in for me for my family.
Yes.
So she had to take care of the two girls. And now my husband at that time. So I send money back here. My sister takes care of the errands and we go on.
Yeah.
And life went on until the time, I think, a week before we finished the assignment. I was called again. And now this time I was called, this guy had developed complications. He was on a wheelchair. So I had to come back to Nairobi. Yes. Only to find him seated in a wheelchair. He had a clot on his thigh. I don't know what had happened with the first treatment with the Aga Khan. There was something that was neglected. So the guy has a clot. He's on a wheelchair. He cannot walk again.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I only had a week to go. So I went, finished the assignment, came back and took care of him. From the wheelchair, he stood and walked again. After the therapies with Acacia, back again in Acacia, he stood up, walked. He was doing well. And now this time when he woke up, this is what was in his mind. Like, I don't see myself living for long, but I want a child. So my question was, how do we get this baby? Because I don't understand.
Yes.
Now, that was a serious conversation. With a serious conversation, we had to go for an IV because now his condition could not allow us to have a child the normal way.
Okay.
So we decided to go to the hospital. The first induction failed. The second one went through. So we have a baby. But remember, this thing is a secret here. No one knows his condition. It's only me who knows his condition. And I actually told only two of my brothers who knew the story, because now, if anything would go to the worst, because his family was now standing on the other side, they were not even caring. They were not even there for me. So the only people who know this story, just in case, are two of my brothers that have shared the medical reports and everything. So it's only the two who knows. Anybody else apart from them, no one knows about this. It was a secret. I remained with it. I never wanted to expose him because I didn't know how I was going to handle this.
Yes, I can imagine.
So I had to stay with it in me.
Yes.
So whatever happens, I was not going to disclose it anyhow. Unfortunately, the day now he was taken in another for some medical test, the father had visited. So the his father had visited. So the father sees the medical report and is like reactive. So I think in his assumption, we were all reactive. Now he made an assumption that we were all reactive. He didn't ask me anything, but he had snipped in and saw this medical report.
Oh, okay.
So this one passed. No one asked me about these, and it all went through. Things were silent. I kept on posting the African woman. I was very comfortable. No one knew my story, but my health was deteriorating. I was reducing, my weight was reducing. I was sort of stressed, but my parents were not asking me what was exactly happening with my life. I did not tell them anything. But sometimes they would ask, like, are you okay? I say I'm okay because I did not want to disclose anything. Because the moment I was going to tell either my mother or father, I think the next thing would be walk out of that.
Oh, that marriage.
But this guy was good. This was a mistake, yes, probably that had happened. I don't know where. He never explained this. But I never wanted to walk out of his side because of his support. The support that he had given me initially for the love, for the care. So I decided to remain with him. I posed as the African wife. So I kept on posting until now this child thing came up. The child. And now when we went for the IV, the second one was successful. I decided to carry the pregnancy. So my brothers were even wondering, you told us this and now we are seeing you?
Yeah.
I did not explain anything. I refused. I still have the medical reports today.
Yeah.
I always keep them, not for anything else, but sometimes I encourage people with this. I tell them, one simple mistake, especially for men, sneaking out of your home can bring this
Yeah,
to
it
you,
can cause all this.
and it can cause trouble. Or even you as a woman sneaking out of your home can still bring trouble to your home. So that is the main reason why I normally keep those medical reports, just to enlighten those whom I love.
Yes.
That please take care, because anything else can happen. And it can happen in a minute.
Yes.
And that minute can actually change your life.
Yes.
So after I decided to have a baby, I carried my pregnancy, and up to, I think, 36 weeks. Now the 36 weeks, this guy got worse. His condition was getting more worse. One day he just woke up he had gone to work actually, because remember that time he was already back to work. So the day he had gone back to work, he walked in with his files, carrying them like he was so much unwell. And when he got to the house, the only thing he told me is like, "Sweetheart, can you pray for me?"
Wow.
Took his books, I prayed for him. And after these prayers, he told me, "I am unwell." And I asked him, "What has happened?" Because you walked out in the morning when you are just strong, you are okay. What has happened? And he was like, "I am not just feeling well." I gave him porridge. When he went to bed, that was the end of him. He never woke up again. Like, he would not walk. The following morning, he woke up, he could not talk. He lost his speech just like that. He could not move. So when I called his brother, who came in, I told him he was driving a company car, which was actually parked at our parking at that time. So because I didn't know how to drive, I called the brother, and when the brother came, I told him, "Can we drive him to the hospital?" Because he said he's unwell.
Yes.
The brother told me he does not have his license at that time. So I looked for a taxi, which took me time, but eventually we were driven to Mata Hospital. So to Mata Hospital, his health kept going down and down. Remember, this time I'm pregnant.
Oh, yes.
So I'm struggling with my pregnancy. His health is also deteriorating.
Yeah.
But I kept on being strong. I was still just praying and trusting God that things would work out. So here we are in Mata. The guy is already admitted. So the treatment starts on. We eventually realized the blood ate part of the brain. So the speech just disappeared. So partially the brain is eaten up with the blood drops that were going in. So his speech disappeared. One limb cannot move. He's already paralyzed one side.
Yeah.
So things are getting worse. I think at that time the bill was almost 300 and something. The card has already depleted. His card. So I have to come in with my card. My card, I think, only had 200. My card depletes on him. But remember, I'm still preparing to go to the maternity.
Oh, yeah.
I'm only a few days. I think I had around 20 days to go. So for the 10 days we are in Mata, then it gets worse. I think the 5th day now the card has depleted, and Mata says his condition cannot be helped. So it means his time is over. We can only take care, but eventually this guy is dying. Wow. At this time I was building my strength because I was already preparing for the worst. I knew this was coming now because I could hear his speech, I could hear him. He would write, he would still write, he would request for a paper and pen and write maybe something for me. At that time, what he wrote, "You will have to take care of my children because my people will not be there for you. My people
That's
are
what he
mean."
wrote.
That is what he wrote for me. So in my mind, he told me, "Yes, I know you love me so much, but when you're crying, remember you have kids to take care of because the worst is just about to happen."
Yes.
So I was asking him, "What do you mean?" And he says, "I mean exactly what I'm saying. Be prepared for the worst because I am getting tired." So he wakes up, I think we were left with 12 days to go to the maternity. He asked the doctor if a cesarean can be done on me. And the doctor says if they happen to do a C-section, it would not work because my blood level is low.
Yeah.
My pressure is high.
Yeah.
I'm already panicking, so a CS cannot be done.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, at that time, the baby is 4.5 kgs.
Wow.
So there is already an alarm.
Yes.
I don't even know how to handle this because through all the pregnancy period, I was in distress. How the baby grew to 4.5, I cannot tell.
Yeah.
So the doctor says a cesarean cannot be done. I can only go through a normal delivery.
A normal delivery.
So that night, he calls me again. He's still writing his notes. Like, please take care of yourself. I didn't understand. So in the morning, again, I woke up. Now we have to transfer him from Mata Hospital to Mbagathi just for care because now the cards have depleted. There's no one who is willing maybe to come in for the bills. The workplace now, they are saying they have done enough because they even took him back to work after they had declared his position redundant. So there's nothing much they can do. If his card has depleted, they cannot contribute to it. So now, at this point, we go to Mbagathi Hospital. When we go to Mbagathi, it's now care. It's now care, and at this time, I only had one person whom I was banking on. There was a cousin, the late Lillian. The late Lillian was my greatest friend. I think she was among the first people I was introduced to. So Lillian would come in the morning. She had the courage of a nurse. We would walk into the hospital. We feed him, we wash him. So everyone was like, you're giving this sick person too much love at and so even the doctors were complaining, you're giving this guy too much love. He's suffering, let him go. So my question was, I don't know how to let him go.
Yeah, this is my person.
How do I let him go? So this person the doctors would feel he's suffering. With my Lillian, very early in the morning, Johanna's dropped us there with our porridge and everything. We have attended to him, we've cleaned him, he's taken his breakfast. So the doctors were like, you're giving too much love to this guy. He's suffering, let him go. But we don't know how to do it. So with Lillian, we are just around him. We don't let him. Unfortunately, when it was just 10 days to go to the maternity, this is now the time he gave up actually. That evening, things were not looking okay. In the morning, I had to attend the maternity. I had to attend the clinic because I would attend every Thursday. So this time, before I go to the clinic, the father called me and told me, "Won't we hear?" So I was like, what is happening?
Now
the parents
father.
now are here, The mother, the father, the brothers were around. So they were calling me to come in and I was like, what could be happening now? But at that time, remember, I also have to rush and see my doctor. So when I go to the doctor, he tells me, we need you to take your bed rest because your weight is too much. At that time, the baby is still 4.5, but now they are worried of my condition. So the doctor is preferring I take a bed rest. I tell him now, this is the reason why I can't take a bed rest. My husband is sick in hospital and I have to take care of him. So the doctor tells me, you only have 2 days. Unfortunately, that evening is when he passed on.
Oh my.
So I got to the hospital, he was feeling weak. I was just holding him and I was trying to actually push the bed higher to wheel him high so that he can raise his head. That is when he was announced dead. And remember, we have 10 days to the maternity. So we either wait for the 10 days or we panic and something happens. So at that point, I actually panicked the moment he was announced dead. But I remembered I am heavily pregnant. If I happen to fall down, something else may happen. I have 2 lives to take care of. The 3rd life is here. The 4th one is now me. He had spoken to me in details. I have understood he was in pain. Let me allow him to go and pick my life from there now. Yes, I was in pain. I couldn't even cry. I think I couldn't cry. I was numb. I got numb for so many months. I started crying after months. I was numb. So because he died in Mbagathi at that time, I think had a new morgue, but we did not prefer it because now we are negotiating for somewhere he could be in 10 days before I could go to the maternity and now prepare for the burial. So we transfer the body from Mbagathi to Chiromo. Now when you go to Chiromo, still with my Lillian, who was the witness, we have the courage to watch the entire process of the body preservation.
Oh my.
That is what love can do for you.
Wow.
So we walked into the morgue with Lillian. We watched the whole process, the cleaning, the preservation. They have to clean the body. They dry it. After drying the body, now that is when they start the preservation process, where they use the strongest, I think it's called The amophylline or something.
Formalin.
So that is the formalin, yeah. Now that is the time I was told, if you want to give birth right here, stand there again. So I had to be walked out actually.
Yeah.
That is the moment now we walked out with Lillian, we went away. And now the process started again. Now I had to be brought back home. Think of how I'm going to start my maternity because the doctor needs me on a bed rest.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was not going for a bed rest. I am totally confused. By the time this guy died, I had spent money. I was only left with 30 shillings. So my question was, how do I even pick my life from here?
I can imagine how much
30 shillings. His account,
emotion there was in it.
I don't know. His account, actually, there was one account with money, but I could not access this account.
Okay.
The one that I would access all the times had depleted. I could access the Equity one, but I could not access the KCB one because I didn't have the PIN. But for the Equity one, he had gave me everything, so I would access. That is what I was using for his treatment that actually depleted. So by the time he was dying, I only had 30 shillings. I remember I had called one of the people, the brothers Nikamombia, can you send me bus fare? Maybe seen a fare. And he was like, we don't have money. But the moment this guy was announced dead, I'm still looking for the guy who brought the tax to take me home. Namtafutanga hadi wa leo. I've never known this guy.
Honestly, my takeaway from this bit has been your loyalty, your unending loyalty. I'm speaking from a point of looking at the younger generation right now. We don't have that kind of loyalty going around. I don't know a single woman who would stick by their husband as much as you did. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, you're going to tell us how you came from all this, from having your child, and how you came back and turned your life around.